The Dekusquad is terrifying. By SPKOTHDVL. Read by My Lost and Found. Summary. I'm really sorry we're late, Mr. Aizawa. We had to get rid of the body, and Endeavor is just as heavy as he looks. I got your favorite, though. He hands the cup to the teacher, and, blaming it on sleep deprivation, or his coffee addiction, he forgets about the first part and takes the cup with a grunt, letting the warmth seep into his palms as he gestures for the group to take their seats. They do so, and he turns to look at his lesson for the day. A simple battle test. Should be simple enough. The silence of the class is unsettling, until he takes a sip of the drink, as black and bitter as possible. The kind of coffee that Hizashi says makes him even more dark and gloomy. The caffeine makes the first part of Midoriya's explanation really sink in. This fic is about 2,000 words and 1 chapter. This podfic was recorded for Mystery Box 2024 for the Cuddle Up Challenge. As always, link to the fic is in the description, and on with the story. Aizawa scans the classroom. He will not say it out loud, he refuses. Baku squad is sitting in their seats, loudly arguing about whatever game they're going to play once the classes are over. He's tempted to wrap his capture scarf around the explosive boy's mouth, but that's not ethical, and he's grown used to drowning out Bakugo's screams of, "Die." Honestly, the class has become a lot more comfortable after Minetta's sudden, unexplained disappearance, especially the girls. He's still not sure how it's possible the kid just vanished. But he's got Shinsou in his class now, so he's not going to go out and reopen the case. He probably just got freaked out by the expectations of the hero course. Unfortunately, he's currently faced with a different problem. The Dekusquad is currently missing. The inclusion of Yaoyorozu and recently Shinsou means that he has 7 students absent instead of 5. He's not surprised by most of them being late. It happens every once in a while. But Iida and Yaoyorozu? Those 2 are the most responsible in the class. It's a little bit worrying, not that he'll ever admit it out loud. He's about to try asking one of the other students when the door slams open. A group of figures stands in the hall, and Aizawa readies his scarf, just in case, his hair floating and his eyes glowing an ominous red. Then, Midoriya steps through the door, a sheepish smile on his face, and 2 cups of coffee in his hands. Aizawa's hair falls back down as he lets go of the weapon. I'm really sorry we're late, Mr. Aizawa. We had to get rid of the body, and Endeavor is just as heavy as he looks. I got your favorite, though. He hands the cup to the teacher, and, blaming it on sleep deprivation or his coffee addiction, he forgets about the first part and takes the cup with a grunt, letting the warmth seep into his palms as he gestures for the group to take their seats. They do so, and he turns to look at his lesson for the day. It's a simple battle test. Should be simple enough. The silence of the class is unsettling, until he takes a sip of the drink, as black and bitter as possible, the kind of coffee that Hizashi says makes him even more dark and gloomy. The caffeine makes the first part of Midoriya's explanation really sink in. He proceeds to cough, the heat of the drink burning his throat and mouth, as he tries to keep himself from dying from a goddamn coffee. What did you say you had to do? Midoriya tilts his head and taps his pencil against his chin, and Aizawa desperately tries to tell himself that he heard wrong, that the kid had just said something about meeting up with Endeavor, or something like that. Anything except the thing he thinks he heard about hiding his body. Todorok senses the green-haired boy's hesitance to repeat himself, because he sets his own pen down and stares Aizawa in the eyes with the same look of calm indifference. Aizawa stares back and notices something different. a hint of smug excitement. That doesn't make sense, though. They're talking about his father being dead. Surely he'd be upset, or at the very least shocked. "We had to hide my father's body, sir, and then we had to destroy evidence and wash up, so it took longer than intended." He's about to write it off as a joke, until he notices the dark red under Uraraka's nails, the streak of crimson in Shinsou's hair, and the slight singe around Todoroki's uniform sleeves, and the fact that all of them are nodding in agreement, like it's a totally normal thing for them. Although, Hatsume's newest invention really did make the transport easier. Oh great, now he has to talk to Power Loader too, because apparently the support course problem child is in on it too. Aizawa fits into his sleeping bag and turns his back to the class, so they can't see the wildness of his eyes. He just wanted to have a nice, casual day, preferably without Midoriya breaking his bones, and now he's got to deal with whatever this is. He wants a break, a raise, a nap, and an early retirement, all around at the same time, if possible. "On second thought, I don't have the energy for this. Go bother each other in the dorms or something." He waves them off before he closes his eyes and tries to ignore everything he just heard. He hears the sounds of shoes on the ground and the door closing before the room grows silent. The dark-haired man pulls his phone out and goes to scroll to his messages when a news notification catches his attention. With a quick swipe, the article opens up. "Pro Hero Endeavor found dead. Foul play suspected." Aizawa stares at it, trying to ignore the terrifying feeling that his students, his problem children, killed the #1 hero. There's no way, right? They probably just saw the article and decided to play some sort of joke on them. That has to be it. He'll just stop by the dorms later to confirm. He sighs and texts Yagi. He's going to need someone to make sure he's not going absolutely crazy. "Are you sure about this, Aizawa?" Yagi asks once again. The skeletal man walks beside him as they approach Midoriya's dorm. They're not going to go inside, and technically this plan could be called eavesdropping, but he just needs to make sure he's not hearing things. The shorter man nods as they reach the door and sees that it's cracked open slightly. Gesturing for the former pro to be quiet, Aizawa slides against the wall and focuses on listening to the conversation inside the dorm. At first, it's hard to make out, but he soon hears an ongoing conversation. Iida's voice is the loudest, unsurprisingly, followed by Uraraka and Midoriya. Todoroki, Shinsou, and Yaoyorozu are quieter, but still audible from his position. "All right, listen up. Our plan to hide Minetta's body was quite similar to the one we used to Endeavor. I have no plans on doing this again anytime soon, but we do need another idea in case it becomes necessary. Shinsou, what would you like to say?" Even discussing murder, Iida remains loud and formal, and Aizawa can practically see his robotic arm movements, despite his lack of visuals. Yagi muffles a cough into his hand, and the palm comes back stained with blood. It doesn't even surprise either of them anymore, both of them too focused on the discussion happening in Midoriya's dorm. Thankfully, there's nobody else around. This must look pretty weird. "I can try using my quirk on them. That way we won't have to deal with the body, because it'll look like they did it to themselves. Besides, Midoriya is the only person who managed to break out of my brainwashing, so it should be almost completely effective if we do have to use it." He almost regrets training the purple-haired teen's quirk, because the way he's talking is honestly frightening. Aizawa makes a mental note to never get on the bad side of Midoriya's friend group, or Midoriya himself, because the kid has no problem breaking all of his bones to accomplish his goals. Coupled with the planning he's hearing now, nobody would find his body, and he would probably rot away somewhere. He resists the urge to shudder and goes back to focusing. "That's really smart, Shinsou," said Kid Speaks. "There's no real evidence of your quirk being used once it stopped, so there's no way it'll be linked back to you. Man, you should have joined us when we got rid of Mineta for sneaking into the girls' locker room." Shinsou mumbles something that seems slightly embarrassed at the praise. Aizawa remembers that day well. Yaoyorozu had cried and Jiro had been trailed by Kaminari for a week, just in case the Grapist tried anything else while she was on her own. After that, Aizawa hadn't given a shit what happened to the short teen. He had actively tried to get him expelled, but it hadn't gone through because he went missing. At least he knows what happened now. Did the kid deserve it? Probably. Your quirk would have been helpful with Stain as well. Ah, right. Aizawa had heard about the three of them being caught by Stain and saved by Endeavor. I can't believe they gave Endeavor the credit. The only reason we found him was because Iida went after him in a revenge-motivated murderous rage. Aizawa blinks at that. Yagi leans in just a bit more. I mean, we almost died. The least they can do is admit we're the people who brought him down. He feels like he's going to have an aneurysm. Or a heart attack. Maybe both. Judging by Yagi's expression, he feels the exact same. Gaunt face seeming even skinnier, and irises pinpricks of blue in seas of black shadow. Pulled so wide he can almost see the white. Yeah, and then you tried to fight the police chief, Todoroki. That's followed by laughter. That's quickly drowned out by Iida bringing order back to their little meeting. All right, I think we're good with that part. Midoriya's mumbling picks up again, a blur of words that he can barely make out. Oh, what about excuses? In case they try to question Todoroki since it was his dad. They're even thinking up alibis. They're really putting a lot of thought into this. It's both impressive and scary. If it was anything heroic, Aizawa would almost admit that he was proud of them. We can say we were with Hatsume, improving our gear. She'll cover for us. Yep, he definitely needs to talk to Power Loader. The Problem Child Club meeting is tomorrow, so he's gonna have time to get his thoughts together. Good idea, Deku. Maybe we should actually change up our gear a bit so it's believable. Hey, I think Hatsume's free now. We should go check. There's a chorus of agreement, and Aizawa pulls on Yagi's arm as they duck around the corner out of sight. The group of children leaves Midoriya's dorm and closes the door behind them. Once they're out of view and he can't hear Midoriya's ideas anymore, he sighs and adjusts his scarf. He's tired and a bit scared for his life. He rubs his temple and then looks at Yagi and narrows his eyes slightly, which makes them look even more tired than he already is. And he is already pretty tired. I'm going to try to process this, Yagi says after a minute, giving Aizawa a nod and then walking off. Aizawa watches him go and exhales slowly. He could have gotten a nice, peaceful class. He could have gotten normal students with normal hobbies that didn't plan murders. But no, of course, he got stuck with the most chaotic, problematic, murderous ones possible. And people tell him he should be worried about the Dekusquad. The worst problem he's had with them is Bakugo blowing things up and Kaminari short-circuiting, which is surprising considering the different members of each group. With a bitter mumble of, "God damn it, problem children," he starts walking back to the classroom so he can set up for the following day, and maybe get another sleeping bag nap in. It is pretty comfortable. The following day, Yaoyorozu approaches him after class. her hands folded in front of her, and a respectful, soft smile on her face. Aizawa sighs and reminds himself that Yaoyorozu is one of the most responsible students he has, and that she's probably not going to kill him. He hasn't done anything to earn it, surely. He hasn't even turned them in. He can't really be bothered to.
Can I help you, Yaoyorozu?
He's helped the girl a lot with her self-confidence, but she still seems a bit cautious with her wording as she bows slightly and then clears her throat. He's half expecting her to tell him that they murdered someone else and they need his advice. We know you overheard our conversation. He freezes and tries to keep his facial expression blank. This is the end of him. He's going to have to leave all of his possessions to Hizashi. His cats will never see him again. Yaoyorozu stands with her back straight and then activates her quirk. What can I make to buy your silence? He blinks at her, and she stares at him, completely serious. Aizawa sighs. He knows he's not going to get out of this, and then thinks for a moment. Something to buy his silence, huh? He could ask for money, but he's got plenty of that. So, with a shrug, he grabs a pen and pulls out a stack of papers that he needs to finish looking over.
Cat pictures. A stack of them.
Yaoyorozu pulls a stack of pictures from her body and slides them across the desk quietly. Aizawa looks down at them and smirks as he flips through them. With a nod, he puts them in his desk drawer. Yaoyorozu turns to the door and then waves at him before slipping out into the hallway. Aizawa takes a sip of the cup of the now cold coffee on his desk, and then leans back and stares up at the ceiling, trying to figure out how he got stuck with this group of problem children. He gets a text from Yagi, wondering why Midoriya is asking to meet with him after school. With a small huff of laughter, he replies with a shrug emoji.
Good luck, Yagi.
He thinks, as he texts Hizashi that he has new cat pictures to show him. In all honesty, it could be worse. And that is all for this fic. I love, you'd expect the Baku Squad to be the delinquents. They're literally like the class clown troublemaker kind of delinquent squad, but Bakugo is their leader, the absolute nerd who gets top marks and goes to bed at 8:30. He's able to rein them in, but then you look over to the Dekusquad and it's like, who do we have here? Their leader, who breaks their bones for not fun, but to punch therapy into people sometimes, and who does quite a few illegal things, going to save Bakugo, fighting Stain, just crime child. And also on the team you got the attempted murderer. So that's not a good point for you when he's the most responsible one on the team. It's just, the little cinnamon roll squad, they could never murder people. They're not a problem. They don't commit crimes. No, they do. They commit a lot of crimes. All of them they're chaotic. And in the most, deranged way possible. It's great. I just love chaotic criminal Dekusquad. And then you just pan over and see the Baku Squad doing their homework. Bakugo's swearing at them, but they're doing homework. Then pan back over, the Dekusquad hiding Midetta's body. I love it in all things, and this is just a perfect fic for that. They're so casual about it. It's we murdered Endeavor. Don't know if we're gonna murder anyone else next, but we better have a plan. Always prepared, Midoriya. Always prepared. Good job. Anyway, that's all for this time. As always, link to the fics in the description. Go leave a kudos. Go leave a comment. Whatever you can. I'm sure the original author appreciates it. And that's all for this time. I will see you guys next time.